Am I the asshole? For punishing my daughter for not helping us search for my niece? My daughter and niece are the only grandkids in our family. My niece was a rainbow baby and the only child in our family. I found out about my daughter when she was 9, so we missed most of her childhood, so naturally she gets a lot of attention. My daughter is clearly jealous of her and has been very mean towards her. A few days ago we all went shopping and my niece went missing in the crowd. Naturally we all panicked and started to search for her while my daughter was on her phone playing. I told her that niece is missing and she said good, I hope she is not found, and went back to her phone, so when we got home I grounded her for a month. She thinks I was the asshole. Edit. So I'm gonna give you a quick update while I figure out how to deal with her now. I decided to have a conversation with her about her feelings and behavior towards her cousin. We didn't have much of a conversation because she kept crying and screaming at me, listing all the times everyone ignored her or favored my niece. I honestly didn't realize how awful we have been to her. She is my little girl and I never meant to make her feel like this. I'm going to talk to my family and tell them we need to throw her a late birthday party since we had to skip her birthday. Am I the asshole? For not wanting to cancel my wedding after my grandfather's death? My fiancé and I are getting married next Saturday. 3 days ago, my grandfather passed away. My grandmother, mother, siblings, and other family members are devastated. The problem is, I'm really not. I shed a few tears, but truth be told, my grandfather was kind of an asshole and we didn't have the best relationship. He wasn't that great of a husband either. I know for a fact some members of my family share this sentiment, even if they won't say it out loud. If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think he would cancel an important event for me. My mother is saying I'm not thinking right, and to keep her and grandmother's feelings into consideration, but I don't really care. I'm dying to marry my fiancé already. I just feel like it's our time to do this. If I cancel, we'd also be losing a ton of money on deposits we've made, venue, catering, etc. The funeral is going to be on Wednesday, so 3 days before our wedding. I've heard whisperings of family members saying they'll no longer be attending the wedding, which is kinda hurtful. So, am I really gonna be the bad guy for this? X200B. Not the asshole. It's the family's grief, yes, but it's not the family's money lost or months of planning up in flames. I'm sorry that this happened so close to your big day. Anyone who isn't going to attend would just put a damper on the occasion. Let them have their space and celebrate your love in peace. Not the asshole. I have a friend who lost her grandma a week or two before the wedding. She actually was close to her grandma but didn't consider postponing the wedding because she knew she would have wanted her to go through with it. Nobody in the family judged her because reasonable people understand such situations. Not the asshole. Everyone will show up for the wedding because they all knew he was kind of an asshole. The wedding will give them the excuse to put him in the past. People play bullshit games about the dead. There must have been some good in him. I got that played to me about my mother who was mentally ill, physically and emotionally abusive. Everyone is glad she is long gone. Your mother is not thinking right because she knows full well he was an asshole. This you and your fiancé's day, not a dead asshole day. Not the asshole. Life, ironically, doesn't stop just because someone died. Weddings, especially if you're in the USA, are notoriously expensive, so it would be an unsound decision to cancel things now. The timing is unfortunate, but that doesn't mean you should derail your life just because of their feelings. Either way, they should be happy for you and take the chance to offset the perceived bad of a death with the good of your wedding. Celebrating life is more valuable than mourning death. Not the asshole. Go ahead with your wedding, but ask your grandmother if she would like his memory honored with a rose in the seat next to hers. Tell anyone who asks I am certain he would have wanted the wedding to go on as scheduled, so that is what we are going to do. Much more elegant than saying your true feelings about him. Not the asshole. My daughter set up a smaller memorial table for those who couldn't be there on their special day. So it included photos of my mother, aunt, the dog that had passed, a deceased member of her husband's family, and a photo of her best friend's brother who died the week prior. One of the frames contained a poem, and there were flowers on that table. They are grieving, so redirecting them to assist with that table in the corner by having them select a photo and a poem will soothe them at the wedding. Nah. As there's money involved, it wouldn't be smart to cancel the wedding, especially not because of someone you did not like that much or other people's subjective feelings. Yet, the people who won't show up have the right to grieve for a longer time. Nah. Wedding deposits are no joke, so nobody should fault you for going through with the wedding on the scheduled date. That said, you shouldn't be surprised if many folks can't make it to the event. A wedding can be a tough environment for those who are going through heavy grief. Nah. Don't cancel the wedding, but go ahead and excuse those that won't be attending. They deserve to grieve and you don't want them to put a damper on your happy day anyway. Nah, but don't be surprised if some of your family don't come. You may not grieve, but some of them are, and if they don't come, it's not about you. As long as you don't judge or criticize any family members who don't come to your wedding up to and including your mother and grandmother. You're giving them less than a fortnight to process the death of someone close to them, even if you didn't care for the deceased. That's really not a lot of time. Not the asshole as long as you accept that a lot of your family will be grieving and won't show up. Not the asshole. I had a friend who grieved hard after her abusive father died. I think what she was mourning, really, was the fact that she finally knew he would never change and be a decent person and father. Have your wedding as scheduled, but be gracious to people who can't be happy for you, even if it's your mother, and even if it means she can't be there for you. Mom, take care of yourself and do what you need to do, we'll be fine. Say that even if you don't believe it, even if it means she doesn't come. I'm sorry about the timing. If your grandfather cared about you, wouldn't he want you to have your wedding? That's my view. It sucks, but in this circumstance, I think life goes on. If people cannot make it to your wedding, that's their choice and you will have to accept it. Not the asshole. Gently, you're the asshole. It's one thing to go, it's horrible that Grandpa died, but I can't afford to cancel. I'm going to move things around so he can have a memorial seat. I completely understand if you can't attend. It's another to go, your husband father was an asshole. I'm not sad he's gone and don't understand why you're upset. Not the asshole. Do not cancel your wedding. If your grandfather had been like most grandparents, he would not want you to cancel your wedding because he died. The fact he wasn't a nice person makes it even more important that you don't cancel. Nah. Grief is complicated and it's totally reasonable for different people to have different reactions to losing the same person. Losing someone you had a complicated relationship with can also be tougher in a way than losing someone you just loved and are sad to lose. The anger, disappointment, sadness, etc. get all mixed up so you don't know how to feel. You're allowed to get married when you like, but your family suffered a loss and they're entitled to their feelings about that loss. If there was a wedding days after my husband or father's funeral, I also probably wouldn't attend. Nah. You have a right to keep your wedding on the same day as before, but your family also has a right not to attend. Not the asshole. You likely already spent a lot of money making reservations and deposits for the weddings, and your grandfather dying is out of your control. If some people don't attend the wedding because they are grieving, then you should respect their decision. And if some people don't attend because they think it's socially unacceptable to hold an already planned wedding so soon after a funeral, then those people are not worth keeping around. Nah. Your family may want something positive to focus on. Your mom has every right to sit it out too. Nah, a wedding is not a birthday barbecue that you can just reschedule easily, and I can understand why you don't want to. And whether he was an R or not is irrelevant. He was someone's father, husband, brother, and people are allowed to mourn him. I'm also coming from a ritualistic standpoint. When an immediate member of our family dies, we pay respect in that we wear black, we don't celebrate for a while, we don't dance, so it's awkward being at a joyful occasion and not look like a miser. If people choose not to go to your wedding, don't hold it against them. It's a difficult position for everyone to be in. Not the asshole for still having the wedding, but family members who chose to not attend are not the asshole either, including your mom and grandmother. You are expecting your mom and grandmother to have a happy celebration after losing their husband and father. Not the asshole. Carry on. Guess what? Old people die. You can't stop living. Get married, have a great day, and if necessary raise a glass to granddad. But don't stop it happening. Not the asshole. Anyone else catching dying to marry my fiancé? Lol. It doesn't matter if he was an asshole or not. Weddings are expensive and not something most people can afford to just reschedule. Some of them might not show up while grieving, but there's nothing you can do about it, and you're not doing anything wrong here. Am I the asshole? Habitually tardy friend showed up to the casino 2.5 hours late and was pissed. Me and my mates planned a casino outing this past Saturday evening. 3 of us drove together, the 4th said he'd meet us there. The plan was to meet at 7 p.m. The 3 of us arrived to the Eno a little after 7. 4th friend is not there, so we get some dinner and start gambling. At around 9:30 p.m. we decide to call it a night. Craps table kicked our ass and go home. 4th friend still hadn't arrived when we left. As we're driving home, I get a call from Mr. Tardy and he's yelling his ass off about how he's at the casino and we left without him, etc. I laugh and tell him tough luck, you were over 2.5 hours late. He is still pissed at me and reading me the riot act all day, calling me a shite friend. Some of our friends have taken his side. Important to note, this dude is always late. He has zero respect for others' time. The only reason I might even consider myself being the asshole in this situation is that he did message us before we left asking if we were still there. I did not reply to him. With how late he was, I didn't think I owed him a response. So, am I the asshole? He gambled and lost. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. How many times did he message any of you to explain why he was going to be late again? I didn't think so. Some of our friends have taken his side. They can wait for him in future. Text him now, dude, we left. I remember several years ago my mom invited a family member over for Thanksgiving. We were eating at 2 o'clock. We didn't hear from him all day. He had the nerve to call us at 6 o'clock and tell us he was on his way. My mom said we already ate. 2.5 hours isn't late or tardy, you have just flat out missed the event at that point. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, it would have been nice to let him know you all were leaving, but no, being 2.5 hours late is ridiculous, given there was no emergency. It's his own fault. Also, I hope it's none of the friends that were there that are taking his side. They all could have texted him as well. There's no reason this guy or anyone else should be targeting you. Not the asshole. He's a shitty, inconsiderate friend. Not the asshole. I probably would have sent missing friend a text that we were leaving, but regardless, you're well within your right to leave whenever you want to. The fact this guy expected you to restart the night just because he arrived is ludicrous. Not the asshole. Stop inviting him places. Block his number. He asked if you were still there. After 2.5 hours, no response is all the answer he should need. Nata. Of course you're not the asshole. I notice he didn't call you guys to let you know he wouldn't be there. 2.5 hours isn't being late, that's just bailing out on the whole evening. I don't appreciate it when people make plans and simply don't show up. Not the asshole. But sort of, for inviting him again when you knew he'd be late again. Don't give him another opportunity to disappoint you all again. Not the asshole. Maybe he should have texted you that he'd be late. Maybe he should have texted all 3 of you. Maybe he should take responsibility for his own actions. Not the asshole. If he can't respect your time, he doesn't get to hang out with you. If I was late, especially that late, and nobody responded to "Are you still there?" text, I'd assume not and that it was my bad. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. After someone is more than 2 hours late, I generally feel safe in assuming they're not coming. I'm inclined to side against you simply because you appear to have abbreviated casino to Eno, but ultimately not the asshole. Fudge that guy. I can't believe you're still inviting him, and after being 2.5 hours late and bitching you out about it, I'd be long done asking him along. Not the asshole. Lateness is very disrespectful. He is the R. Not the asshole. His choice to be as late as he was. Not the asshole. Maybe a few more outings Lyle this will result in him turning up on time. Not the asshole. I have a friend like this. You know, the I'm never wrong and will never apologize for being wrong even though it was my choice that led to the outcome. Bro, we said 7 not 9:30. Sucks to suck. Tell him to kick rocks. The only difference between OP and myself is I would have messaged back saying, hey man, we are still here currently but looks like we will be leaving soon. A little petty on your part, but I get it if this happens all the time. Not the asshole. My wife is chronically late. She knows ahead of time when I am leaving. She also knows we are taking 2 cars if she is not. Not the asshole. He was 2.5 hours late. That is completely unacceptable, and frankly I'd stop inviting him to events. Y'all were late and still had time to eat and gamble. 2 hours late. Definitely not the asshole, and do not apologize for anything. Not the asshole. I have an ex-friend who was habitually late, and would do things like show up at 10 p.m. to a dinner party that started at 7, ready to get the party started just as everyone else was getting ready to go home. It was like he never grew out of college party mode, and since it was also hard to get rid of him once he arrived, people mostly just stopped inviting him. And that is what I would do with your tardy friend. Not the asshole. I agree, you didn't owe him a response after he didn't show up or message you about being late. He has no respect for you or your time. I see no reason why you should have respect for his. Nata. Drop him. Perpetually late people are assholes, especially when they expect their friends to tolerate it. Not the asshole. People being repeatedly late is infuriating. Not the asshole. And more importantly, why do you apparently keep inviting him to stuff? Wonder if he's be upset being 2.5 hours late to a movie and it being over. Not the asshole. He has zero respect for others' time. I bet that if you look closely, there are other things that he doesn't respect. Not the asshole. We have a chronically late friend, and we once had a birthday for him without him there. We agreed to meet up for brunch at his favorite place at 10 a.m. the morning of his birthday. He wasn't responding to texts and we had to take the table of the busy restaurant or lose the spot. So we ate without him. He called us afternoon to see if we were still there. He then apologized for missing us and hoped we all had a good breakfast without him. Your chronically late friend has no one to blame but himself. Not the asshole. He is not your friend. Some sort of hanger-on, let me follow you around, be manipulative, sort of stranger. Block them, everywhere. Never respond. The 3 of us arrived to the Eno. You are an asshole just for that abbreviation. Not the asshole. Don't give in to this behavior. Move on and find people who respects your time. It makes sense if something comes up once in a while. Someone who's habitually late will most likely always be late. I wouldn't even have invited this guy if he's always late. Not the asshole and he fucked around and found out. You can leave whenever you want and I personally would not have waited for him. But, especially if this place was far away, you should have at the very least shot him a text and said you guys were leaving. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I would have figured he just wasn't coming out and left. Not the asshole. Late friend who is always late is disrespectful and inconsiderate of others. Be in time and you'll be right. Not the asshole. I had a buddy who was like this. Eventually am I the asshole? For bumping into a woman holding a baby in the lazy river? I was at a water park last week and my friends and I went into the lazy river. To my knowledge, I thought you were meant to lay in the tube with your belly facing up and just kinda let the water push you through the course freely. This particular lazy river has certain areas that move much faster than others, so I found it difficult to maintain control and avoid bumping into other tubes as much as I'd like. There was a woman, without any tube, just walking slowly in the lazy river holding a baby. Unfortunately, the course of the water pushed my tube right behind her. I tried to paddle myself away, but the current and other tubes now up behind me prevented me from being able to move myself. I ended up nearly right up behind her, bumping into her a couple times with my tube. She turns to me and shouts right in my face, "You're bumping into me and I'm holding a baby and I wasn't expecting it." So I panicked and apologized and said I can't control it, and started clawing at the concrete to try and stop myself, but I couldn't. I feel like I may be TA for this here, because I argued back rather than finding a solution that actually helped in that moment. I feel like a huge asshole and complete idiot. I keep replaying the events in my head. What should I have done differently? Should I have tried to get out of my tube to stop myself? I also feel like that would have bumped her more, as I'm trying to get myself out of a big tube in a crowded part of the lazy river. I can't stop thinking about this interaction. So Reddit, am I the asshole? If you are going to wade the lazy river, then it is up to you to navigate the tubes. The very nature of the tubes is that they basically self-regulate, and that's what lets you relax. It's very easy to just move people gently around as they come across you. A polite greeting and so forth, and it's all good. She doesn't get to stand in the way and challenge anyone to not hit her. That's not what this is. All I can think is, WTF was she doing there? With a baby? Not the asshole. If it's recent, or you have any question, bring it up to management of the lazy river. Anything that happened was entirely on her. That's just weird, and probably very much against the rules. Not the asshole. What in the action park heck did I just read? Why was she allowed to be standing in the lazy river? Why was a baby in the lazy river? Where the heck were the park employees? No, you do not get yourself out of your tube. You're not supposed to be out of the tube in the lazy river. You really don't have control over where you're going. You'll bump. Everyone else is supposed to tubes. Barring an accident, which the park should be prepared to respond to. Not the asshole. There is simply a lot of bumping in a lazy river, no way around it. Should I have tried to get out of my tube to stop myself? Nope. I've been on lazy rivers that require a tube or you can't be in it. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You don't stand in a lazy river, and you especially don't stand while holding a baby. They are meant to be used exactly as you said. What kind of asshole takes a baby into a lazy river and amusement park ride? She is the complete idiot, you are not. You are in a floating ring with no controls or brakes. Why doesn't she go play in the street, holding her baby, and then argue with drivers when she gets struck by a car? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If she is that uncertain of her ability to hold a baby while being bumped, she either should not be in the river or should have a tube too, so there is a barrier between her and other tubers. Bumping is the norm in a lazy river or even a real river. Long time rafter. Not the asshole. As far as the event, how it unfolded, she got what she deserved, as you were in the right how you were using the lazy river, and bumping is to be expected on the lazy river. As to how you reacted to her, you have to assess the situation quickly to see what type of person you are dealing with. If they seem like a rational, calm individual who just doesn't understand how it works, you can educate them. If they are themselves, it is best just to leave them be, as no amount of arguing is going to change their perception on how they believe they are in the right. Just move along and continue to enjoy your day, and don't let it bother you. Not the asshole. You're supposed to be in a tube in the lazy river. If you are walking in it, then you need to suck up getting bumped by tubes or move faster to try to avoid them. Either way, you weren't in the wrong, and there was really nothing you could do about it. You were using it correctly and she wasn't, so she's at fault here. There is nothing you could do. The current and other tubes just push you sometimes, and they have a life of their own. Every experienced river person knows this. Sometimes, you get bumped. It is sheer madness to walk with a baby. It's so hard to control tubes, rafts, kayaks, canoes, and other people, even with minimal current. It's not like you aimed for her like you were river bowling or something. Not the asshole. Not the asshole walking in a lazy river, holding a baby, where people are being moved by the water without control is extremely irresponsible. She's tar. Not the asshole. You wouldn't have been the only person to have a problem trying to keep from bumping into her in that situation. She's the R for putting her baby in danger. Not the asshole. I like to be in lazy rivers without a tube most of the time. But that means I'm the most mobile person compared to people in tubes. It's my responsibility to fend for myself there. I've taken my nephew on a lazy river when he was 1, and I did not walk with him without a tube for this exact reason. We got a tube so he would be up higher and not get splashed, and so he wouldn't get bumped. That lady was out of line. Not the asshole. I love lazy rivers, and every one I've been in requires that you use a tube and that kids wear life jackets. She shouldn't have been standing in it with a baby. Not the asshole. There wasn't anything you could do about it, and you were only being honest with her. Some mothers feel some type of weird entitlement for having a baby even though millions of people have babies. In turn, they are insufferable and miserable to interact with. This was clearly an accident. She is the R. Not the asshole. You don't go in the lazy river, unless you're in a tube. The lifeguards should have yelled at her. You can't control where you go or how fast. This is as dumb as if she stood at the bottom of a water slide and was pissed the people were running into her. Go to the regular pool with your baby, you weirdo. Not the asshole. I worked at Michigan Adventure, and despite my chlorine allergy, after volunteered to trade over to work in the water park. You are not supposed to walk without a tube in the lazy river for this very reason. People with toddlers and babies are required to hold them if they do not meet the height requirement. Even so, a tube, even with someone larger inside, would not bump anyone hard enough to cause a fuss like this. Especially considering this was absolutely the mother's fault. Most lazy rivers I've been in require you to be in a tube the whole time to prevent this. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You don't have total control unless your feet are on the ground in a lazy river. You are correct, that is how a lazy river operates. If anything, she's the R for carrying a baby in a lazy river where people don't have full control. She should have held it on the side of the pool or in a chair. When I went to a lazy river last year, they didn't let anyone in without a tube. So even if this one did allow it, she should know better. She was at fault. Not the asshole. You had no control. She was walking in the river with the baby. Not the asshole. She's an idiot. She should have been on an inner tube. Totally her fault. I've never been in a lazy river where they let you walk without a tube. And why would you get into water with a baby unsecured knowing there are others around you? Sounds entitled. Not the asshole. I took my 6-month-old into a lazy river, but she was in her own baby inflatable ring and I was acting as an extra guard around her in case people's rings bumped into her because it's a lazy river and that's what happens. I spent my trip around apologizing to those that bumped into me in case they felt I was in their way. That mum was out of line and totally on another planet. Imho edit. No one seemed bothered that I was there with a baby as I was keeping her safe and keeping out of everyone's way. Baby had a great time lol. It was her very first time in a pool. What a baptism of fire, smiley face, smiley face. Not the asshole. None of the water parks I've been to allow wading in the lazy river. They have baby pools for that. The moment the kid shits its diaper they have to shut down and clean the river. Am I the asshole? For continuing to argue with my husband after he made a joke about our daughter's curly hair. I'm a Latina woman married to a white man. We have an 8-year-old daughter with curly hair. I love her hair, and she loves it too. Last weekend, I noticed she was upset and quiet. I asked what happened, and she didn't want to tell me. I insisted, and she started crying. She told me her father had made a joke about her hair. He said her hair looked like a rat's nest and that she should straighten it or cut it. He said it was just a joke and that he loved her hair, but she shouldn't tell me about the joke. I was furious and confronted my husband. I started arguing with him and said he was being prejudiced and had hurt our daughter. He apologized and said he didn't mean to offend anyone. He said he was just trying to make a joke and didn't see any issue with her hair. He said I needed to stop dwelling on his mistake and that I was overreacting. I didn't accept his apologies and continued to argue with him. I told him he had no idea what curly hair means to our daughter and our culture. I said he should respect it and not make such jokes. I said he was foolish for making our daughter feel bad and for making her hide the truth from me. Am I the asshole? Hey op, I know that you're already rightfully upset about your husband's behavior, but I think it's really important to teach her that there is no keeping secrets from her parents, especially from each other. A kid taught to keep secrets from their parents becomes very vulnerable to several kinds of severe abuse. There are lessons online about how to teach your kids not to keep secrets, but that planning surprises is okay, for example, because it can be dangerous. Your husband shouldn't be teaching your daughter to keep secrets from you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. The fact that he explicitly told your daughter not to tell you about his joke shows you he knows how wrong and hurtful it was. He can't just say things like that and claim, oh, it was just a joke, so you're not allowed to get mad. Clearly his joke, regardless of his intention, was hurtful, and instead of sincerely apologizing to both you and your daughter, he's treating it like you're being oversensitive and shrugging you off as being ridiculous. He doesn't get to decide what does and does not hurt someone else. Not the asshole. Your husband knows he's in the wrong. He even tried to convince your daughter to not say anything. He made her cry, and that's not okay. What was he expecting? Oh, I'll make my daughter insecure about a trait she likes about herself, that'll be funny. If he doesn't have any issues with her hair, why did he insult it? Not the asshole. Red flag anytime one parent does something then tries to coerce the child into not telling the other parent about something like this. I don't know what his meaning is, but if I say my hair looks like a rat's nest, I mean that it's tangled. I clearly need to brush it or wash my beach spray out of it. I wasn't clocking it as anything weird until he said don't tell mummy. Has he explained that? Not the asshole. Little girls adore their daddies. And this one just shot her confidence level way down. He needs to beg for her forgiveness ASAP. Not the asshole. Those are the kinda jokes that leave your kid with lasting issues. Stop him now before he messes with her self-image. Not the asshole. Sometimes you have to get on someone's culo to make them really understand the error of their ways. He was making your daughter feel ashamed of who she was and what she looked like, things beyond her control. And then encouraged your daughter to lie to you. Bet you he won't do that again. Not the asshole. As someone who was the only curly girl in a family of people with straight hair, I cannot tell you how many times I got demeaning comments about the way my hair looked. For years, well into my adulthood, I had family members telling me I should straighten, relax, or cut my hair. It wrecked my relationship with my hair and my appearance. You're doing the right thing by standing up for your daughter. Don't let anyone tell her that curls aren't beautiful or that she needs to brush her rat's nest. Make sure your husband understands just how harmful those comments can be. Not the asshole, but your husband is major TA for teasing his daughter about her looks, for telling her not to tell you, which means he knew it was a mean thing to do when he did it, and for then trying to gaslight you about it. Not the asshole. He upset your daughter about something that was important to her, plus he told her not to tell you. He knew his joke was inappropriate and now he's trying to backpedal on it. You are not overreacting, the man has the empathy of a turnip. That was not a joke. Not the asshole. It's bad enough that he's making comments about her racialized hair like that. But asking her to keep it from you? Seriously troubling. Not the asshole. My parents made jokes like this, and I had no one to stick up for me, leading to 10 years of straightening damage and self-esteem issues in my life. Not the asshole. When he told your daughter not to tell you about the joke, it made him the R. Maybe he did say it as a joke, and without thinking, he realized pretty quickly he was in the wrong by telling your daughter to keep it quiet. He needs to learn that is not okay. Of course not the asshole. And it wasn't a joke. Next he will make a joke about her hair not being blonde enough. This is very triggering for me. No, you are not the asshole. Your husband, on the other hand, is a giant flaming one. Not the asshole. He said something racist and then told her not to tell mom. I know it's overused, but triangular flag on post, 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 triangular flag on post. Not the asshole. How is telling an 8-year-old her hair looks like a rat's nest not meant to be offensive? It'd be offensive to anyone of any age, but what would possess him to joke like that with a child? Not the asshole. That comment is likely going to live with her for decades. Not the asshole. No, first he said something cruel, and in no way was that a joking manner. Second, he said your daughter should have kept it from you. Telling a child to keep secrets from their parent is never okay unless it's a present, of course. He made his 8-year-old daughter cry and then told her not to tell you. Not the asshole, but he sure is. I've seen friends and family struggle with white partners, who may love them but don't get it. Not the asshole. I honestly can't respect you enough for this. So often white people will marry into a colored family and won't be able to change their prejudiced mindsets, mostly because the family will let them get away with anything. You need to teach your husband that his jokes are not funny if they come at the expense of other people, especially his daughter. Protect your kids, educate your partners. A joke is supposed to be funny. A joke is supposed to be fun for everyone involved unless the joke's targeted at an asshole ofs. It's not hard to understand why telling someone a normal goddamn part of them is weird or gross in any way isn't funny. What concerns me is your daughter is 8 and he told her to keep secrets from you, the mom. I'm a mom myself, and that raises major red flags for me. He's the R, and I'd also keep an eye on him from now on. He also shouldn't be disrespecting your culture. He should love you and where you come from. Not the asshole. Ask him if he still remembers any derogatory comments that were made to him as a kid, particularly by parents or family members, even if they were supposed to be jokes. How did that make him feel? Point out that he still remembers the comments, and so will your girl. If he has any compassion at all, he'll apologize to your daughter. Then make him wear a curly wig in a crazy color as his punishment. Daughter gets to pick it out. Hopefully you all get a laugh out of that and this becomes a funny memory instead of a painful one. Did your husband apologize to your daughter? If not, seems he just wants you to shut up about it instead of making it right to his little girl he hurt. Not the asshole. Obvious not the asshole. Anyone who tells their kid not to tell the other parent clearly knows that what they're saying is wrong, and I bet anything that he knew. Parents shouldn't be their kids' bully. Not the asshole. He insulted his child. The "it's a joke" is a weak attempt at deflecting. Her hair looked like a rat's nest. This part I can understand being a joke, as anyone's hair can be described that way at some point in time, usually just after waking up. That she should straighten it or cut it. This part is not a joke and is just rude mean. And the fact he said, "Don't tell mom I said this," hugely implies that he 100% meant what he said in not a joking manner. He doesn't get to be mean to his own child and then try to gaslight her into thinking it wasn't mean, by saying it was a joke. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole? For not baby-proofing my home? My friend and her 2-year-old son came to visit me last week. She's a single mom and we rarely see each other because we live far apart. I just moved into a bigger apartment, so they came to stay with me for a few days. Everything was fine at first, we had fun, and although I'm not good with kids, I tried my best. One morning we were all in the kitchen, my friend and I made breakfast while the boy was playing with a toy on the floor. After a while, my friend left the room to take a call and was gone for a few minutes. I'm not used to having kids around, so I didn't think twice about leaving him alone when I left to go pee. My friend was just in the next room, the door was open too. I also had to walk through the living room to get to the bathroom, so she knew I was leaving him alone in there. When I came back, she was still on the phone explaining something to her coworker and the kid was still in the kitchen. But when she came back, she noticed a bunch of photos on the floor. I had put them up on my fridge with small neodymium magnets, so we started looking for those but didn't find any. Knowing how dangerous magnets can be for kids, we immediately tried to find out if he ate any, but he just started crying, so I drove us to an ER. My friend was panicking in the car and started yelling at me, "Why do you even have tiny magnets in the first place? You should have told me about it before. Why did you leave him all alone?" I was driving and tried to focus, so I didn't answer her. Honestly, I just never thought about my fridge magnets being a hazard. All was fine in the end. He ate one magnet, but it wasn't a big deal as there wasn't any other ones. I was relieved and said, "Let's go home. I'll take down the other magnets and see what else I might have to baby-proof for the next few days." But my friend was still furious with me and demanded I drop them off at a hotel and bring her things because who knows what chemicals I have lying around in child's reach. She can't take her eyes off of him for a second in that house. I tried to calm her down and reassure her that nothing else was going to happen and I'd keep a closer eye, but she refused. She just kept yelling at me. I dropped her off at a hotel and haven't heard from her since. Until this morning, she called and said that she's disappointed that I didn't even apologize for putting her child in danger. That I don't care about his well-being because I don't like children, but I don't want him to die, obviously. And that I was clearly not even worried when it happened. I don't mind apologizing, but am I really the only one to blame here? I never have kids around, and while I did remember to put detergent and cleaning supplies out of reach, I just didn't think about the magnets. I could have done more and maybe shouldn't have left him alone in the room, but she has done it too and I just didn't consider it. Her guilty conscience is getting projected to you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, it was her responsibility to watch the kid. I don't demand people to baby-proof their house when we come over. Even so, she should have said this call might take a while, could you keep an eye on him? Then you might not have left him alone. I fail to understand how the inability to watch her own kid was now your fault. I've taken loads of calls and still was able to watch my kid, or specifically asked someone to watch them as I took a call. It's not that hard. Of course this whole thing was scary and he might just be lashing out because of adrenaline, but this just seems so weird to me. Watch your own kid, lady. Not the asshole. I have a friend that comes over with her toddler and the first thing she does is a happy lap around the room to inspect anything that may be dangerous or fragile and puts it away. I don't mind, and B, she watches her toddler at all times. Her kid, her responsibility. Not the asshole. Parents have to watch small children. They can never assume a place is baby-proofed. If they do, ask them to pay for it. Not the asshole. You don't have kids, why would you baby-proof? It's the parent's job to check out the environment and watch their kid. Not the asshole. Why did you leave your 2-year-old to talk on the phone? Not the asshole. You cannot watch a kid all the time. Your friend is being unfair. Even moms have to pee and will have to leave their kids alone for a few minutes. You are not to blame. Moreover, you handled the situation well by taking them to the ER, and even offering to take down the magnets and to further baby-proof your house. What more should she want? Nata. I have a toddler and a crawling baby. I don't expect people to baby-proof when I visit. I ask if I can move things as they become an issue, and I watch my kids because they're my kids. Not your kid, not really your problem to make sure you keep an eagle eye on them and stress yourself out, woman shrugging. Not the asshole you don't child-proof your home unless you are a daycare or have a child. Who knows what chemicals I have lying around in child's reach, she can't take her eyes off of him for a second in that house. No, she can't. Why did she expect that? You didn't sign up to be a daycare center for 3 days. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If a parent of a toddler walks into a house and doesn't survey for disaster, they're a bad parent. Info. Did she ask you to watch her kid when she left the room or just assume you would? If she asked, the ESH, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that a 2-year-old in an environment that doesn't usually house a toddler needs to be watched. If she didn't, NTA, because not your kid. Not the asshole. Even with my own kids there were many things I didn't think about until it became an issue. Kid leaves the dog water bowl alone for months and months until one day they decide to drink from it. Your friend should have explicitly asked you, can you please watch baby X while I make a phone call? That would have tripped your memory to realize, oh, I promised to watch the baby until mom comes back. I agree that she feels guilty and is lashing out. Not the asshole for not baby-proofing your home. You don't have kids, so likely aren't all that familiar with this. For future reference, never leave a child of that age alone. It's impossible to predict what they'll get into, but they will get into something. Not the asshole. It's her job to supervise her kid. Not the asshole. Your friend is just projecting 'cause really she's to blame. But you hear so many horror stories about kids and those little magnets, she's just scared. The only way I could see you being at fault is if there was some sort of confirmation that you would watch her kid while she took the call and then left him alone anyway. Otherwise, not the asshole, because baby-proofing things is definitely not intuitive for people without kids. Not the asshole. It's not your fault toddlers and children have a perpetual death wish. You don't have kids, so of course your home isn't baby-proofed. Your friend is the primary responsible adult for her own child, so she should be the one observing and keeping an eye on them. Not the asshole. She feels guilty and is projecting that on you. Not the asshole. We used to go to my friend's house every Sunday without toddler and she didn't baby-proof. We all just watched our little one closely. Honestly, even parents make mistakes. Plenty of preventable accidents happen under parents' care, too. We've had a few. Jammed a chocolate foil wrapper up her nose, for example. Just for the future, don't leave toddlers unattended. They are fast little ninjas. Not the asshole. She should have inspected the house when they first got there. And I imagine she's doubling down so hard BC she knows she should have been watching him. Not the asshole. You don't have kids and your friend does. I have friends with kids. I'm hoping to have one kid. Anyway, when they come over I ask them anything you need to me to move. No, they watch their kids. Your friend is the issue, not you. Not the asshole. You go to visit others, you are responsible for your own child. No amount of stress or fear can excuse shitty behavior. Tell her that. I'm 60F and hubby I had 2 kids. She's TA, it's her kid and her job to keep eyes on her kid at all times. If she took a call, then she should have said to you that it's up to you to watch the baby. If that had happened, then you would have to watch the baby at all times and not go pee. You'd need to bring the baby to her and let her know baby was back to her. But if she didn't make this clear when she visited, that's on her. You shouldn't have to completely baby-proof your home. You don't have a baby. It's her child and her responsibility to look after him. She's probably just feeling guilty and panicked over what happened. TBH, I wouldn't have thought about fridge magnets either. Hopefully she'll reach out and apologize for being so mean. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole? Because I asked my fiancé to get me another ring? My boyfriend of 5 years M26 and I F25 got engaged a few days ago. Now, We have been dating a long time and we have had conversations about getting married, etc., so this was not out of the blue. In fact, I have shown him several times the type of ring I like and would want when we got engaged. Well, he proposed with a ring that was the complete opposite of what I want. Think simple minimalist vs very big and gaudy. I obviously said yes, but was a bit visibly taken aback by the ring. I tried to keep my composure since our families were present. The next day, I asked him if we could get me another ring that was more to my liking since I would be the one wearing it. He said no, that the ring comes from his family and so he gets to decide how it looks. He also said that since his family is very comfortable, think one Europe trip a year type of rich, it shouldn't look like he skimped on the ring for his fiancée. Somehow both our parents also caught wind of this issue, and while my parents said we could compromise, his are saying that we have a standard to uphold and we cannot look poor in front of their peers just because I have simpler tastes. I've also proposed I get a simpler ring that I wear every day in my normal routine, and wear his gaudy rocks whenever we visit his family. He has shut down that idea as well. I understand that it is just a piece of jewelry, but I also don't know why we can't get another that I can wear in my normal routine. Am I the asshole? X200B. We have a standard to uphold. What other standards will you have to uphold? Do you even know? Are you okay with all of them? Not the asshole. Don't wear it. His are saying that we have a standard to uphold and we cannot look poor in front of their peers. Superficial nonsense. He said no. He gets to decide how it looks. He has shut down that idea as well. Welcome to your future. Not the asshole. Fiancé is controlling and more concerned about status than your happiness. Not the asshole. Stick his ring on a necklace and refuse to put it on your finger as you keep getting it damaged. I would consider whether you want to marry someone who won't listen to what you want to wear on your body for the rest of your life. What else is he going to demand and not listen to your opinion on? Marriage is a partnership, not ownership papers. Not the asshole. Wearing a huge ring, ugly or not, all day is not practical or desirable for most people. The amount of control your fiancé and his family think they have over you is concerning. This will be a trend in your life if you marry into this family. Your fiancé seems very on board with the way his family thinks. I would carefully consider whether or not you want a life like this. Not the asshole. I feel like you should be careful in this situation because if you let his family intervene and win here, I wonder if it is going to be par for the course, if you know what I mean. It's wonderful that he gave you something so nice, but if it's not what you want and he doesn't respect what you want, you may want to consider that before marrying him. It's weird to me that he wouldn't want you to be comfortable with something you wear every day. What about having the ring redesigned with the same materials? Is that a possibility, or is it an heirloom? Not the asshole. Don't wear the ring. You don't need to wear a ring to be engaged. Compromise is you'll wear the ring at family events but day to day you won't. Not the asshole. But the real issue is needing discussion and compromise if you want it to work. Why can't he work with you to find something that works? On the high end there should be no lack of expensive rings that aren't gaudy. Check out stores with more refined tastes. If he really can't listen, and you two can't work out agreements that make you both comfortable, that won't stop at the rings. I'd be rethinking whether I want to marry someone who is so dismissive of my thoughts and feelings. Not the asshole. I can understand if he's hurt because it's a family heirloom, but it sounds more like they bought it. Are you sure you want to marry into a family where your wants and needs are secondary to keeping up with the Joneses? Because this won't end at the ring. I understand handing down stuff like this, but it is your finger. The whole poor thing. Personally, I cannot stand these people from the brief stuff in your post. If my other half family this way, I would be having strong convo with my so about the life I want and who I am. I would put them in their place very quickly and so could either back me or F off. Good luck. Don't marry someone who doesn't care about your feelings, puts their family above your comfort, and doesn't know how to be an adult and compromise. Red flag city. Get out now. He gets to decide what ring he buys with his money, but you get to decide what you wear. Put the ring in a drawer. Then wear what you like. Not the asshole. His family wanting to look good for their friends is more important to him than your wants. Think about that and decide if that's what you want for your future. Allow me to direct your attention to the tale of Diana Spencer. Not the asshole. Basically, you're going to be a prop for showing off the ring's wealth. Yeah, no, thanks. Not the asshole. LOL, married 30 years, the engagement ring comes out for weddings and funerals. You deserve the ring that you want as long as it is financially in reach, which doesn't sound like the problem here. Your ring isn't for others, it is for you. If you can't compromise on this, I think you might have bigger problems. Stop wearing the ring. You can't make him buy you another ring, but he can't make you wear it. For people who are so concerned with what others think, let in-laws' friends think you didn't get anything. Geez, I didn't even get past the ring part to know this is a mess. Your first paragraph was the clue. He's not interested in your opinion because you are from a different social standing and don't understand. For him and his, it's all about how they are perceived, so there is the future roadmap of your relationship you have to look forward to. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Consider this as a microcosm of your future relationship. He expects to be able to disregard your opinion and will continue to do so in the future. He is very likely to be a controlling partner. I strongly urge you to reconsider whether you actually want to marry this man. Not the asshole. I don't think it's unreasonable to want to absolutely love whatever ring you wear every day. Give him back the ring and explain that you may not be shallow enough to marry into his family. Not the asshole. Put the ring in a box for good. And go buy something ridiculous for his family and then demand that they must wear it all the time because it is your standard they must upkeep. Not the asshole. But if he can't compromise on something that only affects you, and is trying to control your appearance in public, then that is a sign for how your married life will be. I personally wouldn't want to marry into a family that forces me to dress in a way I am uncomfortable with and insults my style and taste as if I am less than them. Not the asshole. If it is some kind of family heirloom, then accept it for what it is and only wear it on special occasions. Tell him that you're not comfortable wearing it all the time because you don't need or want to get mugged on the street. Then just wear your wedding band. There are lots of families out there like this one. Generally newer to having money and feel like they need to display it. It's coming from insecurity usually. Put your foot down now about ostentatious displays and you should be okay. Not the asshole. And not only are him and his family shallow, but they're also fake as hell. What's the saying? Money talks but wealth whispers. Those with real wealth don't need the things they do and wear to scream for others' attention. Oftentimes the classiest, most upscale, most expensive things are understated. Someone with real wealth wouldn't be looking for a big, gaudy ring. They've been looking for the best quality diamond in probably a custom-designed setting. Not the asshole. I clicked on this expecting from the title that you're the asshole, but you told him what you wanted and he didn't respect it, and you tried to find a fair compromise and he rejected it. I'm not entirely sure what the ring comes from his family means. Like, did they pay for, or is it one that's been passed down, or is it just that he feels like it somehow represents his side of the family? If it's an heirloom and it's symbolic of you becoming part of his family, sure. That makes sense. But there's a lot of subtext here to raise some flags, including classicism, status consciousness, and where your wants and opinions rank versus his family's. It is just a piece of jewelry, which you have to wear. This is the hill to die on. God knows how much interference you will have to tolerate later on. Not the asshole. Stick to your guns or forget having an opinion. Am I the asshole? For not letting daughter control thermostat? Context: we're from the UK. I am struggling to see why we are the assholes as deemed by my parents and sister. My husband uses Reddit and thought this sub would provide a third insight that we are missing. My husband and I have two daughters, Jane and Lisa. This concerns Jane, who has been struggling with the cold. Jane started to complain about the temperature of the house. Now it's no longer summertime. Currently, we leave the central heating off all the time apart from in the early morning 5-7 a.m. so Lisa doesn't get too cold when she is awake. My husband and I don't have an issue with the temperature of the house. It's approx 16 C at night across all of the bedrooms. Since we checked in case her room was draftier, we don't really feel it and do not see where Jane is coming from. Jane complains and says she wears multiple layers to bed and around the house while we are all asleep. So, she asked if she could have access to the thermostat in order to switch the heating on at a higher temperature than 18 C, what we set it as. She wants to raise it to 21 C, but we said no. She keeps complaining about how she has to wear 4 layers to bed so she doesn't feel cold in the morning. Lisa says it isn't cold when we ask her. My husband and I also don't feel the cold, so we said no to her asking and thought that would put an end to it. It did not. We had dinner at my parents' house in which Jane was making comments about how warm and toasty her grandparents' house is. My parents were shocked that we didn't allow her access to the thermostat, and they tried to sway us into giving her access because it isn't right for her to sleep in multiple layers. My sister also agreed with them and said my daughter has valid points since the temperature is starting to drop in the night. Are we wrong here? Info. My husband and I don't have an issue with the temperature of the house. Lisa says it isn't cold when we ask her. My husband and I also don't feel the cold. How does everyone's body type compare here? Is Jane significantly thinner than the rest of you, or something? Info. Does your heating system set a temperature for your complete home, or are there different heating units in each room? Also, a 5-year-old is not trustworthy when it comes to temperature. When my brother was 5, he had to be reminded to wear more than a shirt when it was snowing outside. Info. Would anybody in the house actually be too hot at 21 C? Is the grandparents' house, which is warm and toasty for Jane, uncomfortable for up? Reading all of the commentary, it sounds like the objection to turning up the heat is nothing more than 3 out of 4 people are fine at the lower temperature. This is very different than 3 out of 4 people are too hot at 21 C. Given that money doesn't seem to be an issue, keeping the temperature colder just because only one person finds it cold seems just plain petty and spiteful. You're the asshole. It's not that you can't afford to raise the thermostat, it's not that raising the thermostat would make the rest of you uncomfortable. You reject every single option for a heat source like heated blanket or space heater rather than raising the thermostat. You just don't give a damn about your daughter. You just don't care that she's too cold. Also, 16 degrees is fucking insane to keep a house at. You're the asshole. Get the girl a personal space heater for her room, or a heated blanket or heating pad. She obviously not making it up that she is cold. Who are you to tell someone that they are not cold or not hot? I do understand not giving control of the thermostat to her, but to not make accommodations for her so she isn't cold is where you're the asshole. Also, 16 degrees Celsius is freaking cold. And yes, this dumb American did have to Google what that is in Fahrenheit, lol. Jane may also have low thyroid hormone, which can cause cold intolerance. That said, if you can afford it, can't you compromise with it a bit warmer? 16 degrees in house is fucking mad. I come from country with 4 seasons. During winter my house temperature was 15 degrees. Literally waking up in the morning I could see my own breath while breathing. I understand that we live in fucked up times thanks to cost of living, but 16 degrees is way too low. 18-19 is fine, you can wear thin jumper if you barely move. You're the arsehole because you refuse to allow her a space heater. Why do you favor your youngest over your eldest? You're the asshole. If she's already wearing 4 layers and is cold, turn it up a couple of degrees as a compromise. Jane may be cold-natured as my grandmother called it. Just because everyone else feels okay, doesn't mean she doesn't feel cold. That being said, I think two things. Will raising the thermostat 3 points make it uncomfortable for everyone else? If not, why not raise it? Secondly, why not get her a small heater for her room? At least she can sleep warmly. I hate being warm, especially when sleeping. I guess the opposite is true, although it's easier to warm up than to cool off. You're the asshole. Why do you lock up the thermostat in your house? Why does only Lisa get consideration for temperature control? Are you all that poor that you have to keep the heat off in winter? Do you know it expends more energy to turn the heat on only 2 hours a day versus keeping it on all day? Also, how is it 16°C in the bedrooms even though your thermostat is set to 18°C, which is still cold, in my opinion? So based off the comments, you won't let your daughter get a space heater, an electric blanket, or contribute to the power bill simply because you don't want it warmer. Why? No money issues at all, but you need to start saving to spend extra money on the younger daughter. You suck and I would hate to be your daughter. How many other things in life have you neglected her on? You're the asshole. 16°C 60°F or even 18°C 64°F is too cold for most folks. Just because you're fine doesn't mean it's reasonable to expect her to be miserably freezing. I see you're not interested in keeping the heat on consistently either, so that's miserable for her as well. Why do you think she should suffer so you can save a few dollars on the power bill? Also, the things most folks are suggesting, heating blankets, space heaters, etc., actually use more electric than just keeping your house a comfortable and consistent temperature. Expecting her to have 4 layers to be moderately warm is unreasonable. You're the asshole. My wife and I like it cold at night, but 16°C is a little crazy. We keep ours at 18°C 64°F at night. I am in the US and don't know how different your HVAC system is. We have programmable Ecobee thermostats. It has remote sensors you can put in other rooms to monitor and balance the temp if needed. We have a sensor in our bedroom and in our daughter's. At night we do let the thermostat our first floor and basement go to 16°F, but no one is down there. You're the asshole. Give her solutions, don't make her just put up with it. The simplest would be to raise the thermostat a little, as the rest of your wouldn't overheat and she might be comfortable then. Different people have different comfortable temperatures. I personally would be comfortable with your normal temperature, as would 2 of my children. My wife and third child would not, and it's hard to sleep well when you're too cold. 18°C is the minimum heat required in rentals here. Just saying, 16°C is a bit on the lower side. I had 15°C during the winter time once and it's not fun at all to sleep in that. Info: would a compromise like running the heat longer work for both of you? 21°C is might warm to keep a house, but 16°C is unpleasantly cold. If the heat was still set to 18°C but ran for most of the night, you'd strike a reasonable balance. You might still need to buy her a warmer duvet at that temp, though. Do you even like your daughter? She is freezing and you go to Reddit instead. I hate freezing. 16 is too cold for me. Several years ago we lived in an apartment that was particularly cold in the winter, and we couldn't really afford to warm it up properly. After 3 months of that misery we actually decided to do whatever we could to get out of there. That included changing jobs to afford a better place. I just didn't want to waste my life on being miserable 24/7. My husband didn't mind as much, but for me it was a deal breaker. You're the asshole. Your house sounds very cold. It's currently below 10 degrees outside and you're not using the central heating, of course she feels cold. Having the house set to 18 degrees at 9 AM, it is going to be cold at night if you don't run the heating in the evening. Just because you are happy with 16 degrees doesn't mean everyone else must be. You are being a dick about this, but at the least you could buy her a cheap electric heater. You can get them from Screwfix for like £25.